Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started in just a minute. My name's Jen Luna. I am the Associate Director of Sponsorship here at the CIA. I'm excited to welcome you all to this session. Seminar 7, Seasoning as a Staple with Built-in Flavor from the Beginning. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, Unilever Food Solutions, for this seminar. And I'm going to turn it over here to Bret Thorn, Senior Food and Beverage Editor at Nation Restaurants News. Thanks so much.
And thank you. Good morning, everybody. Got a nice crowd, and we have two awesome chefs. The first chef who's going to cook is Carlos Gaytán, who is the chef and owner of Tzuco restaurant in Chicago, named after his hometown of Tzuco in the Mexican state of Guerrero. You can read his bio on the app, as I'm doing, but I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a lot. But Tzuco has won all of the awards, basically. And Chef started cooking at a very young age. He took a year off in 2018, I believe, to travel back to Mexico. Tzuco, by the way, is in Chicago. And then he came back, and that's when he opened Tzuco. He also has 3 restaurants that opened earlier this year at downtown Disneyland in Irvine, Paseo, Centrico, and Tiendita. And I'm going to turn it over to Chef to cook some food.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? No? Hello? Hello? Yeah, there is. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Well, we're going to create a really simple taco. Normally, I love to take traditional recipes and just do something really fun, something really crazy sometimes. But that's what I do for a living. So this one is going to be a shrimp taco. We're going to make these beautiful corn tortillas. I was walking outside, and I saw they got hoja santa. So I was, why not? It's not in the recipe. We're just going to add it to. All right. Hoja santa, for me, is really important for our cuisine. It's very licorice and incorporates a lot of flavor, especially with seafood. It goes really great. All right. So right here, in the back, we're going to do a salsa roja. Basically, the base is chile guajillo, tomatoes, garlic, chile de árbol, obviously oil. I'm going to add a little bit more because we incorporate some black peppercorn. We're going to add cumin. We're going to add this beautiful North Suiza. This is caldo de pollo. That's where we use a lot. That's, home base. Normally, when we use it, just think about my grandma, She used to use it a lot. And right here, we got some dry shrimp. Okay? We're going to eat dry shrimp. Right there, we're going to saute for a while. This is going to take about 5 minutes, probably. And right here, we're going to cook our tortilla. Basically, when I make my tortillas, it has to be different. If you come to Paseo Centrico here in California, you see my tortillas also are homemade all the time. And it depends, what kind of corn that we have is what we do. So if we got 3 different corns, we use those 3 different corns in one tortilla. Okay? To make the tortilla, it's very simple. We got the hoja santa. What you want to do with the hoja santa, you want to cut it at the end of the branch, this one right here. Okay? You're going to place your hoja santa face down, and you got your masa right here. And this is really crazy. This is a German fresh tortilla. This is not even Mexican. Yeah, so what you do, put it right there. You have to press it. And sometimes when you press it, you put all the, a lot of heavy weights over here, so you have to make sure if you want the tortilla to be even, so you turn it to the other side and press it again, so this way it's just perfectly even. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring the tortilla right here. I take this, thank you. And we're just going to take off the rest of the hoja santa. Okay? Beautiful. Do you want to pass this? Maybe they want to smell it. It's just really interesting smell, and the flavor is just amazing. So you want to start with your tortilla face down with the masa. Make sure it's even. You don't want to add anything on the comal. You can add oil, but it has to be later. So this way you not overcook the hoja santa, okay? All right, so this one, it should be almost ready. Obviously, you know, we gonna pull it out. This salsa is the one that I have already made right here. Basically, you just bring it to the blender and have your salsa, okay? I'm gonna add a little bit of tarragon. I have a lot of French influence in my cooking, and I utilize a lot of French ingredients as well. I grew up cooking more French cuisine than Mexican cuisine. That's why in 2018 I took 1 year off, and then I traveled over Mexico just to learn more about my culture, learn more about, you know, the abuelitas, what they do with fine dining restaurants as well, and it's really amazing just to see, you know, how Mexican cuisine is changing a lot, and it's amazing. So if you travel Mexico City or other big cities, you're gonna see a lot of tasting menus in the restaurants. So that's good. So right here, I'm gonna do, basically this is a garlic and habanero pepper aioli that we're gonna incorporate. It's very simple: eggs, Dijon mustard, garlic. I put the garlic and the habanero peppers in the fryer. It just brings a lot of sweetness. Even the habanero is spicy, and make it very sweet. Okay, but it still has that little touch of spiciness. And normally, I like to use yuzu in my aiolis. You know, yuzu is more kind to the flavors that you have around, so it's easy for me. Well, let me turn this. Right there. This is coming perfectly. So for my tempura, normally I like to use rice flour. We have here rice flour. Probably that's what we're gonna use. I have another flour here, but I like using rice flour because it gets more crispy, and just gonna add some salt. And what I like to do, let me see. Oh, this is beautiful. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna incorporate sparkling water. So this way, as you know, it's very light. And normally when you incorporate cerveza or beer into the mix, it gets really thick and absorbs all the oil. And for me, it just takes away all the flavors because too much dough or too much, you know, of the flour on it. I'm gonna pull it up. This is ready. So another thing that you wanna do, you want to use your hands. So this way you don't incorporate too much air onto it, and it gets really, really crispy, okay? Let's see. Yeah. See? And it's a way to taste it. So let me drop a couple things in the oil. Make sure that it's hot. Yeah. And it's gonna come up really crunchy. And we got the shrimps over here. Thank you. Shrimp, gonna season it, salt. Okay. Gonna put 2 shrimp. Gonna mix it. Make sure it covers. And it goes to the oil. And one thing that you don't wanna do, overcook the shrimp either, okay? So make sure that, you know, it cooks only for a minute, doesn't take that long. The shrimps should be always, you know, like a medium, so they can be, can I have the plate? So this way they're not tough. You know, when you overcook a shrimp, it gets really tough, and you don't want to do that. So we're gonna put this in here. Okay. And now we're gonna do our slow. This one, if you wanna keep it fresh, let's say it's really hot outside, you want to keep it more fresh. What I do, just serve it on top of the taco. If you know you want to do it with a little bit more flavor, you're gonna add the aioli that I made. So, okay, right there. That should be ready. You can see the shrimp, right? It has the tempura. It's very light. It's not much going on. It's just the shrimp himself with crispiness on it. So that's why I love it doing it this way. Okay. So we're gonna add a little bit of aioli. Probably we're gonna add a little lime juice. Thank you. Appreciate it. And salt. Just a little more touch of dill. I love dill with anything. I think dill is really good. Every single dish that I make, I try to put dill or avocado. It's one of my favorite herbs. Dill and mint. Okay. All right. I'm gonna bring the shrimp. I'll put the shrimp in here. Gonna add a little salsa. Right there. This is really good. Make sure you got the herbs on it. I'm gonna garnish it with a lemon. Right there. And this is a very simple shrimp taco. All right? Any questions? Preguntas?
Questions, anybody? I have one. You mentioned that you use 3 types of corn in the tortilla. What are they and how come?
Normally, we have many different kinds of corns, and whatever depends on what that they send it from Mexico. And sometimes it can be blue corn tortilla or blue. This is red corn, and we got yellow, white. We got many different kinds, yeah. So, and we have different places that we bring the corn. It can be Tlaxcala, Ciudad de Mexico, Oaxaca, and Campeche.
And so why 3 in one tortilla? What kind of characteristics are you trying to get from the different
I
ones?
just want to be different. The tortillas, they want to make sure, that it's homemade. And then if you visit Paseo, you see we have a beautiful window and then a beautiful comal that's rotating. And I have 3 ladies making probably about 2,000 tortillas daily. Yeah, so it's just, but really good.
Yeah, I bet. They certainly look good. Now, you just opened 3 restaurants in Disneyland, but you also have your award-winning restaurant in Chicago. Can you talk about managing all of that and what the 3 new restaurants are?
Well, actually, I have 7 restaurants.
He has 7 restaurants. Sorry.
Yeah, and it's good. In Chicago, we have Umo. Umo is a restaurant that is an Italian concept, steakhouse. We have Tzuco, that is the main restaurant, the one that they know me from. And I have really a small restaurant called Stales or Carlos Gaytán. And that restaurant, it seats only 12 people. And it's really nice because I cook whenever I feel like in that one. And it's just me cooking with another 2 chefs. They're helping me. And we create this beautiful tasting menu for, 12 courses. But I open the restaurant only like maybe 3 or 4 times of the year. And that's it.
So it's sort of your performance space.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then we have Tiendita in California. Tiendita is more like fast food restaurant. Everything is, grab and go. We have Paseo, is very similar to Tzuco. We have Centrico. Centrico is a bar. When you walk in downtown Disney, you'll see a bar. That's my place. And then there is where you see something like that, finger food, tacos with fresh corn tortillas, And we got Hyde. Hyde is in Riviera Maya. We just earned another Michelin-starred in the Hyde this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and about to open 4 more places. One is going to be Los Cabos, Acapulco, Orlando and the Four Seasons, and France as well.
So you're busy. You're busy.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned you like cooking with dill, which isn't something I think of that much as part of the Mexican palate. Am I just wrong, or do you just really
No,
like it?
normally you don't cook with dill in Mexican cuisine. The beauty of probably not just living in the U.S., you learn that you can utilize whatever ingredients that you have. So my cuisine is not, I don't spend much time, looking what else I can bring from Mexico. I can bring a couple things, but I love utilizing what we have, in our backyard or we have in the markets, yeah.
And we certainly have dill. So does that alter the food that you serve in Southern California compared to in Illinois?
Well, it's different, yeah. In Southern California, I try to utilize a lot of ingredients that I can bring from Baja California, especially great seafood. For me, it's very important utilizing, cold water fishes all the time. Back in Guerrero, even, Acapulco is hometown for me. I'm not going to use the fish because it's warm water. So I prefer bring everything from Baja California. The quality is big difference, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So with your tasting menu restaurant, what's the name of it again?
Tales of Carlos Gaytán. But I have another tasting restaurant menu, which is Hyde. That's the one in Mexico, the Riviera Maya. So if you find yourself, going to the Riviera Maya, it's inside Hotel Xcaret, Mexico. Yeah.
Cool. So what kind of food do you cook there? It's just cuisine de chef, whatever you want?
And Hyde? Or what do you mean?
At both of those restaurants, what is it? Mexican food or just sort of cuisine de chef, whatever you want to cook, or what's it
Yeah,
like?
it's more like, it's a lot of Mexican cuisine, but I have a lot of French influence into every single dish. Like aiolis. Normally we use just mayonnaise. And myself, I like to do aiolis, with some Mexican flavors and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
So you spent most of your cooking career in Chicago, right? That's
Yes.
where you started?
Yeah.
Where did the French influence come from? Just cooking in Chicago restaurants?
Just being in Chicago, working in those French restaurants. I was the chef de cuisine in Bistro Margot, and I don't remember what years, but it was 3 years. And it was funny because those 3 years, that was the best French restaurant in the city. And all the time when they want to talk to the chef, and there's a Mexican guy coming up, not speaking French, well, they were looking for the French chef. And then since then, I was like, I need to open my own place. And really, I decided go for it. And in 2008, I opened the doors of Mexique. They became the first Mexican restaurant to earn a Michelin-starred. And yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. And as we all know, a lot of French restaurants have a lot of Mexicans in the kitchen cooking the food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Oh, yes. How about in the back?
Up there? Can we turn off this? Sorry, I can just not hear. Sorry, I cannot hear. It's just the noise.
Yeah, the question was, sorry, repeat it again. I got distracted too.
Yeah, it's funny because I was fighting not to do nachos and all this stuff. And I was fighting, I say, you know what, everything, if you think about Mexican cuisine, everything is tortilla in different ways, and they call it different ways. This tortilla, if it's fried, they call it flauta. If they make it thicker and, they pick it up right here, they call it sope. So everything is different. And then we had this beautiful tlayuda, and I was fighting for, like, if they want nachos, we got a tlayuda. Tlayuda is very popular in Oaxaca and very beautiful presented.
And a tlayuda is like a room temperature, kind of a flat tortilla with stuff on it, right?
Yeah, like huge tostada, let's think about it. But yeah, I had to adapt, not everything, but a few dishes that I had to have familiar to people. The great thing about California, it was just like the food it was serving around, it was not really good. So it was a plus for me because when we opened, the goal it was to do about 2,000 covers every day. And now we're doing more than 4,000 covers daily. Yeah,
Wow,
and
great.
it's beautiful because now you can see people, especially in Paseo, people dressing up. They're coming from outside just to have dinner at my restaurant. So you don't have to go out of the park. You're just coming for the food. So it's really great.
People dressing up and going out to dinner at Disneyland. It's nice. And Disney does, of course, have a great food program. They're serious over there.
Absolutely, yeah.
There was another? Yes, sir.
I, Well, travel for me is what I do. I live, and everybody, asks me, like, where do you live? I was like, in the airport or on a plane, Normally, every week I go, like, 2 or 3 different cities, and I can hit maybe in 1 month 4 different countries. And travel for me is so important, just get to know more ideas, and it's what I inspire, going to the markets and see the ingredients that they have and create menus. If I had to go out of South Africa, I go 2 days early and I create the menu, depends on what they have in the markets. And to have control in the restaurants, every single chef that I hire, the main chef in the restaurants, I make him to be partners. I give him, a percentage. And this way we don't have not many rotations. And I'm really blessed with that, having a great team every single restaurant. Normally I don't have rotation. I have people waiting to get be part of my team. And what we do with the team, they work 4 days and 10 hours every day. So this way they work the 40 hours and 4 days, and they can take 3 days off and spend quality time with the family.
Wow, I don't think I've ever heard of a cook like having 3 days off in a row. That's pretty incredible. And I'd ask for a job, but you're full, right? You're not hiring?
Come on, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say? I'm sorry. Los Cabos. And Los Cabos, I'm going to open more like a Mediterranean Baja food. I love Mediterranean food. To me, it's one of the most favorites. And I'm going to open with San Regis Hotel early this coming year. So it's going to be really interesting, a lot of seafood and lamb. I don't know. They have these beautiful huertas or farms, with fresh vegetable. And I'm planning to do like on my own farms oysters. Yeah, so we'll see.
Have you been in contact with oyster farms about
Yeah.
making that happen?
Yes.
That's exciting.
Just learning a lot of stuff. So, and making something different. I can just imagine, having a deck with oysters hanging and a few tables, and you come by. We open oysters right there. We have a couple salsas already made, and great champagne or great wine, Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to go there. Yes, ma'am.
I am. Normally I try to be part of hiring the GM and let it know what exactly my expectations are, and when it comes from the house. And that's it. And everything else, if I see something that is happening, I just go with one person, and that's it. But not involved with everything, Yeah.
Any more questions? Well, then how about a big round of applause for Chef?
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you.
And next we have Shamil Velázquez. How are you, Chef?
Fantastic. Yourself?
I'm also fantastic. You graduated from the Culinary Institute in 2014, right?
Yes, with bachelor's, yeah.
And you're back starting in 2023, you came back to to be a lecturer here, right?
Yep, an instructor.
But you've cooked everywhere. You worked for Jose Andres at Zeytinha. You worked for Larry Forgione and Cindy Paulson here in the Napa area. And then you were in the Southeast for a long time, right, at Husk Restaurants. And then you got a Beard Award nomination for Best Chef in the Southeast. Was that at Delaney Oyster House and Monero?
That is correct.
And Monero, Delaney Oyster House is an oyster house, and Monero is a Oaxacan restaurant, is that right?
Yes, pretty much just takes we specialize in nixtamalizing tortillas, so I was really excited to see the Hoja Santa tortilla because that was pretty cool.
And so, what are you going to be cooking for us?
So today is pretty much a little ode to Puerto Rico. And
Right, you're from Puerto Rico
Yes,
originally.
born and raised in the island of Puerto Rico. So we're going to be making Octopus. My hometown in Puerto Rico, Dorado, which is the north coast, probably 2 towns over from San Juan, the capital. We're known for octopus, and we eat octopus in many different ways. So my idea was, how do I take all my travels from everywhere that I've been throughout cooking in my career, and how do I get that all into one dish, right? So we're going to be making grilled octopus today, and we're going to be also making batata. Batata is this that you have right here. It is a white sweet potato. So it is not as sweet as the regular orange sweet potato, but it's definitely higher in starch and very, very dense in itself. They grow everywhere in the island, and that's kind of the sweet potato that we normally end up using itself. We're going to be making a mojo mayo for that, just to bring the herbs out and give the dish some acidity as well, okay? So we're going to get started. So for the mojo mayo in itself, I have some cilantro right here. The cilantro itself is going to go right in here. Ta-da. We have some oregano. The oregano is huge in Puerto Rico because we use oregano brujo, and it's a lot stronger of type of oregano, and it just brings almost like a medicinal taste to it. I have a little bit of olive oil in here. And I have some red wine vinegar as well. You will see mojo a lot in Puerto Rico in the use prepared with pork, but it also lends itself very well with seafood. Now to balance this out, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of agave. This is just to take that edge off of it. Ta-da. Pardon me, thank you, chef. We also have some toasted cumin in there, a little pinch of salt. And then I also have a green oil that I made with some cilantro to help that chlorophyll be super bright, okay? And go ahead and blend this. All right, so as you can see, we have a very bright green sauce. And this bright green sauce is very acidic, right? It's very acidic. It's almost like a paste in itself, but this is what I'm going to use to flavor the mayonnaise in itself. Normally you will see that in Spain, because we have a big Spanish influence in Puerto Rico, that they would do a lot of seafood with mayonnaise. It's very common. And that's kind of the idea in itself. So here we have some mayonnaise. We're going to go ahead and put some of this puree in. Go ahead. We're going to add another pinch of salt. And we're just going to give this a little whisk. And what you end up is this really bright green mayonnaise in itself that's going to add not only acidity, but it's also going to add some richness into the dish itself. A lot of strong herbal notes in here. And that is going to be the mojo mayo that we are going to be using when we finish plating. Thank you. I have a grill right here ready to go. Give it a little bit of oiling down. This octopus that I'll be cooking today, I previously cooked in like a court bouillon, and that's pretty much just a flavorful liquid with high acid, garlic, oregano, and onions. And I cooked that for about 45 minutes or so just to try to tenderize it. You can cook octopus really, really fast, or you have to cook it really, really, really slow. One or the other to be able to get that texture, right? I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil in here. Aceitito. Little pinch of salt right here. And we're gonna go straight onto the grill with this octopus. Let's give another one for the road. There you go. Thank you, Chef. So while this is going, here I have the sweet potato. So I took the sweet potato in itself, and I pretty much made a puree with it, right? I normally grew up eating the sweet potato in itself grilled. It was kind of the way my mother and grandmother prepared it. And they would grill it. So I ended up kind of giving this a light smoke yesterday, and I did the sweet potato in itself, pureed it completely, and I added some salt in there, and then I finished it with a bunch of grapefruit zest. Grapefruit zest kind of throws it off, and then everybody's like, oh, why grapefruit? I think it brings out the very floral notes of the grapefruit in itself and the sweet potato as well. So knowing that the octopus is pretty much already cooked, I don't want to go super crazy on it, because what happens is when you end up overcooking it, you end up getting very chewy, and you don't want a chewy product. Octopus growing everywhere in Puerto Rico, not growing, living in the reefs of Puerto Rico, they're very small, they're not very big, and normally you will see salads with octopus and conch as well together in one, right? They're very delicious, but we normally eat it very cold as well, so doing it in a hot preparation is a little bit more of a modern take onto it, but this eaten raw as well is fantastic. So here we're getting a little bit of char marks on our octopus.
Sorry, did you say you guys eat octopus raw in Puerto Rico?
No, we poach it normally.
Okay.
Maybe with some sour oranges, and then from there we take it, and we make almost like a ceviche, if you would, with it. A lot of lime juice, a little bit of oil, some black pepper, some onions in there, and then normally that's put on top of mofongo. Mofongo in itself is mashed plantains, usually with pork product in it. Butter, it's pretty much like super not healthy contact cement, the way I look at it. It's super heavy duty, but it is absolutely delicious. So normally it's plantains and octopus, but sweet potato and octopus, potatoes and octopus that you normally see in a lot of Spanish restaurants, so it kind of goes back and forth there.
Sounds good.
All right, we're getting close to the end here. So once this octopus comes out, I have a little bit of vinegar here, mixed in with a little bit of lime juice. I want to bring the acidity forward, right? Acid is fantastic with seafood. It actually brings the natural sweetness out of the octopus in itself, and I think that's the one key thing here, that everything has to have balance within the dish. I have to have texture, I have to have acidity, I have to have fat, and then when it comes to plating it, you just have to have fun with it, right? Trying to balance everything in one. So our puree is ready to go. It's nice and hot. I'm going to go ahead and get our octopus out. Again, I just wanted to give it a quick sear. I did not want to go super hardcore with it. And here I have that vinegar mister. I'm going to go ahead and hit that very lightly with that, okay? Now that our octopus is cooked, we're going to go ahead and cut this up. Yep. Boom, boom, boom. Nice big chunks, you know? I'll leave the tail right there. Thank you, Chef. Chin behind. Now we're going to get to plating here. So, talking about balance, we have this puree. The puree in itself is sweet, right? It has a lot of sweetness, and it has those citrus notes on the back end of that grapefruit that we were talking about, right? I'm going to go ahead and make a little bed down low.
So that's just sweet potato and grapefruit zest, or is there
Yes.
other stuff also?
A little bit of the grapefruit zest in itself. So I'm going to go ahead and make a nice little bed for my octopus to life. When it comes to plating, you'll see a lot of chefs that, and there's nothing wrong with that, that are very particular where everything goes. And to me, at least, what we teach the students is like sometimes you have to play it as it lies. You don't necessarily want everything to be very perfect because you want the food to be natural and let it speak for itself, right? So it's okay to play with the colors, textures, and everything, but not necessarily do you need every single component to be 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Just let it play as it lies, right? So now we're going to start plating. We're going to put our octopus around. Kind of see where it lies. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to put that one right there. Next thing I have right here are going to be these pickled shallots, right? So the pickled shallots going to add a very delicious allium flavor. It's also going to add a hint of sweetness into this. I'm going to switch from these to these guys. And you're just going to place them around just to give the dish a little bit more of texture as well, right? Thank you, Chef. Next up, I want some texture in here, right? I got soft, I got a little bit of chewy, I got a little bit of crunch from the albumin itself. I took the sweet potato and I cut it into little rings, and then I pretty much deep fried them to make sweet potato chips, just to see another preparation with the sweet potato here. So I'm gonna go ahead and crush this on top, just to give the whole dish some texture. Thank you, chef. And then the citrus in itself, I'm not doing this not only for acidity, but I'm also doing it because the sweetness of the orange. Normally in the Caribbean, we get sour orange, and sour orange is sour. But the navel oranges here in the States tend to give a good sweetness in the dish. So I think this is going to bring a very fantastic sweetness to the whole dish in itself, and also beautiful color into it. So we did some supremes for these oranges right here. Da-da-da-da. And again, as you can see, I'm just letting them lie, because to me it looks a lot nicer when things are just put together at the same time, but kind of let it play as it lies. And then to insinuate that oregano flavor that we had in the mojo mayo as well, put a couple little pieces of oregano, okay? And then, like TV magic, it made itself into a little squeeze bottle on the mojo mayo, and now we're gonna finish with little dots of the mayo in itself throughout the dish, just to give the dish some of that herbal note as well that we were talking about, right? So here we have that. Acid, I keep saying acid can be more important, so to me a little bit of lime zest as well in there. It's gonna be fantastic just to bring that really bright note flavor forward, okay? And then to finish any great seafood dish, you also have to have a little bit of flaky sea salt, y'all. So here you have your octopus dish with white sweet potatoes and oranges and mojo mayo.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, then I'll ask questions. So, Chef, how did you get interested in cooking in the first place? Is it one of those childhood cooking with your grandmother kind of things, or?
Yeah, so I ended up getting into cooking with my grandmother, most like a lot of chefs do, right? Growing in the coast of the Caribbean, food is a big part of our culture. We all always eat and cook every single day. It's part of our tradition. So yeah, I got into cooking because of that. My uncle's also a professional chef, and it was just so present in my life, my whole life, that I just really wanted to bring it forward. So at a young age, I definitely started cooking and found out about the CIA, started applying at a very young age, and went and became a student, and from there it kind of just took off.
And so from the CIA, is that when you went to Zaytinya in DC, or did you?
So when I was at CIA, I had to do the externship or internship, so I ended up contacting my uncle, friends with Jose Andres, so they put me together and they put me in this restaurant that I didn't know what it was about. It was actually a Turkish and Greek and Lebanese restaurant that was really out of my comfort zone, but it really taught me developing flavors, and not only that, also the speed of my career, right? How much of a busy restaurant this is and how intense it is. So I think it was a good eye-opening experience as to what is to come and how hard you have to grind every single day to be able to make it through it.
And from there, got a question. Yes, sir.
What's the comfort dish from Puerto Rico that you cook for yourself?
Oh, that's a hard question, you know, because there's a lot of them. To me, it has to involve rice. Rice for sure. So if I'm gonna say it's asopado de pollo, which is pretty much something that I would eat this time of year up here, but it's going to be, it's like a stewed chicken and rice soup in itself. Little avocado on the side, little cervecita on the side, you know, and it's just, it's the spot on those cold weather days. But that to me is very comforting, very reminiscent of my childhood growing up.
Other questions? Yes.
How do you make your own cilantro oil?
So the cilantro oil, what I do is I take the cilantro in itself, I blanch it to activate the chlorophyll, which is the pigmentation within the cilantro. After I blanch it, I shock it in ice just to stop the cooking process immediately. And I try to squeeze out as much oil, as much water as possible from it. I transfer that to a Vitamix with some oil, and I let the friction of the Vitamix in itself kind of heat that oil itself and reactivate the chlorophyll, and you end up with a very bright green mayonnaise, if you would, similar if you were to make basil mayonnaise in that mentality.
And you use just whatever neutral oil?
Yeah, normally I like to use soybean oil or any light neutral oil. I don't normally want to use olive oil in this situation because olive oil being so strong, and I'm trying to let that herb kind of shine for itself. Yes.
Other questions? Yeah.
Being so successful, being nominated for James Beard, South, Best Chef in the South, why do you feel like you wanted to teach that to others in America?
Absolutely. So to me, teaching was one thing that I never thought I would do, I'll be honest. I was head down, running restaurants, being the executive chef, and just go, 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 go. But I always found myself that my favorite times in the restaurants was when I actually got to teach somebody new how to do something new. Me being one of the youngest instructors in the school currently, it was great because it currently allows me to connect with the students themselves. But I think the students make it the best, to be honest. Being able to see their success from when they start at fundamentals to when they're graduating, and in such a short period of time, how much they're able to accomplish. It is so much more rewarding in that mentality because you get to help these students, and I'm able to use my experiences from the restaurant industry to be able to show them the way. Hey, I wouldn't go about this way, and just show them ethics and not only that, discipline within the restaurant so that they have that career moving forward with the right steps.
Cool. Other questions? Then I will keep asking questions. So from DC, you came to Napa, is that right?
Yes.
How come and what was that like?
So I ended up doing a program with the school to go to Greystone. It was the Farm to Table program, the very first class to do that. And when I did that, Napa was a big shock to me because it's all food. Everything is food in Napa. And that was to me like, wow, everybody just wants to talk about food, live food, and drink wine and talk about wine. And that was very eye-opening because it was very reminiscent to home to me, right? Because that's similar to what we do at home. So I graduated the school, I came straight out, and I had read a lot about Cindy Paulson, and I loved her restaurant. I loved the simplicity of the food, right? It was no fuss. It was just really good food and being able to connect with the farmer and the ingredient. And from there, that actually taught me how to keep things simple, even though I think this is simple. It's not very complicated, but it's more than anything just letting the ingredient kind of speak for itself and how can you build upon that. So I think Napa was a great experience as a young cook, honing my skills in the Valley.
And then from there you went to Husk, is that right?
Yes, so from there I went to Husk to work for Sean Brock, and the reason I moved there was because I wanted to understand layers of flavor and depth. Depth is big on a plate, right? Like I speak here, you have the creaminess, you have the high acid tones, you have the different textures. Being able to add into those layers of flavor is massive as a cook to try to learn how to build dishes and to be able to be restricted to certain items that only grew under the Mason-Dixon line. So that really pushed. We didn't have miso, so you have to make your own miso. You don't have soy sauce because it doesn't grow under the Mason-Dixon line. You have to learn to ferment and do that. And I think that really helped me in the career to be able to show that to the students and all those experiences that if you focus locally on what you have, that would be fantastic. This would be a dish in itself that's coming up into winter because sweet potatoes, you'll see them throughout the winter in the South. You'll see them here in Napa. Your citrus is going to start coming in. So it's somewhat a very light dish that can be enjoyed, yes, with a lovely white glass of wine, but at the same time, it's still wintry in product in itself.
Yeah, Sean Brock's really big into all of that local and sort of food anthropology stuff, and sounds like that was very helpful for your own career. And then you opened an oyster house and a Oaxacan restaurant, but you are a Puerto Rican gentleman.
Yes,
so
I'm glad you bring that up. So first it was the oyster restaurant, and the oyster restaurant itself, it was a lot of simple dishes like this, right? It was using local fishmongers and working just with oyster men from the South in itself. So think of Husk, but very seafood mentality in that. So everything was from Charleston, everything grew under the Mason-Dixon line again, but everything was just seafood focused. Saying that actually was also very challenging in itself because there's only so many seafoods that grow in the South or that live in the South in itself. So that was very fun in itself. And from there, the company itself asked me, hey, we're going to open a Mexican restaurant. Do you have any experience nixtamalizing? And I'm like, no.
No, I'm Puerto Rican.
Yes, I'm Puerto Rican. But it was a lot of studying, a lot of reading, and a lot of staging to be able to understand it. And right now, it's one of the things I teach at the school, which is the art of nixtamalization and how that has translated to today's world. But it is very rewarding, right? Because it put me again out of my comfort zone. I do believe that when you are out of your comfort zone, you end up learning a lot more. So I end up living a lot more out of the comfort zone than anything, but it's a good thing because you're always pushing yourself to do better.
Yes.
So when you are out of your comfort zone, what do you do or where do you go to invoke like inspiration for future dishes?
To be honest, eating out, that's kind of like one of the biggest things. Going to the farmer's market, that's normally where I go get a lot of my produce during the week for the house with my wife. So we normally go a lot to the market, and when you see and you start talking to the different farmers, hey, how are you doing? What are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And getting to know them, that actually draws a lot of inspiration, being able to see colors, being able to see shapes. You can plan a whole dish in your head, right? Example, I planned this whole dish a long time ago, but you don't know what's going to look like till it hits the plate, right? And then you look at it and you're like, wow, I like the colors, I like how everything's contrasting, and not even expecting it, but inspiration is everywhere. You just have to kind of like open your eyes and keep an open mind to it, right? To me, creativity is something that is not very teachable, I would say. It's something that you just have to go out and explore. You have to taste, you have to open your mind to different things, and then also you could use your past memories from your childhood, right, and use that into cooking in itself.
Other questions? Well, then I'm going to ask you more about nixtamalization. Where did you start to learn that?
There's multiple restaurants in Atlanta. One of them, they did have this concept similar already open in the past, so I was kind of just reopening it, but in a way bigger scale. And this place, like Chef was saying, that they make 2,000 tortillas. It was a very similar concept in Ponce City Market, and I'm there with the abuelitas and trying to teach me how to make tortillas. They're getting mad at me because we're in the weeds, and I'm just trying to put one down, and they got 30 down at the same time. But it was like a trial by fire era, and I just made it a point in my career. I was like, I am going to not master it because I'm not a master at it all, but I'm gonna do my best to get really good at making tortillas. And it's really fun, actually. It's difficult but simple, right? Chef made a tortilla right there, and then as simple it looks, there's a lot of history behind that tortilla, I'm sure, and there's a lot of love behind that tortilla, starting from kernel to getting to masa is night and day, right? A very ancient style of treating corn, right? One of the biggest activation points in our career, in our lives, right? From the Aztecs all the way to the Mayans and all that, how that plays into today's world just to get to one item, which is masa, right? So very, very, very interesting.
So since you're not a nixtamalization expert, did you hire like abuelitas to cook at your Oaxacan restaurant?
Absolutely. Definitely had abuelitas, and I just kept them happy all the time. Bring them donuts, you bring them bread, make coffee. How you doing? I'm doing great. Nice to see you. You can have the day off, sort of thing. Absolutely. But yes, definitely kept them happy. But the day that they didn't show up, Chef got to play. So it was me going, trying to get them. But it was a great experience for sure. And now to be able to teach that at the school as well to the students, where we're only producing 30 tortillas that day in class, so that all the students get to try it. Is very rewarding because they get to say a store-bought tortilla versus a nixtamalized tortilla made from scratch, and it's completely night and day for them to taste and be like, wow, I get all the flavors. I understand why we haven't ground it with the metate by hand so that they understand the how it started. And obviously now there's machines and there's grinders and all that is fun, but just we have them do it the hard way so that they, get the taco right,
Well, and you can certainly then appreciate
Oh, absolutely.
the amount of work that goes into it.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Not that you were talking about nixtamalization. Where do you get your corn from here, and how do you go by, not like action corn versus, the corn that's out there on the market? How do you?
Yeah, so actually 85% of the corn that's grown in America, dent number 2, which is the name of it, it's used probably for animal feed, right? But Hacienda is a big company that actually imports a lot of corn in from Mexico, working directly from the farmer. So when I was in South Carolina, I really wanted to use the local corn because grits are really big down in the South, right? And grits is just the corn in itself, the corn kernels that have been grounded up through a stone as well, and you end up with a gritty-like consistency. So I had the yellow trucker corn from the South, and I really wanted to use it because everything that I'm using in my restaurants within reason is everything local. So how do I take the corn that's 15 minutes down the road, but still be able to make a lovely tortilla? The thing is, the corn in South Carolina was way higher in starch. So that really affected my tortilla. And that was like my hardest part of the whole tortilla making, because I couldn't get the pliability that I wanted, or it was too loose. And a lot of times people use gums like Arabic gum, guar gum, or santam gum to be able to make these tortillas. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I didn't want to use any hydrocolloids into the tortilla. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So I ended up taking some of that and mixing it with olotillo blanco from Mexico. And making,
Is that a type of corn?
yes, it is
Okay.
a type of corn. So the yellow trucker corn and the olotillo blanco, and I made one tortilla with it. Like Chef did 3, and I did 2. But one was giving me the pliability, the starch that I wanted. The other one was giving me that popcorn flavor that I just really wanted, that when you take a tortilla right out of the comal, oh, man, it's, you know, I've eaten a couple, maybe. That's for sure.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the beauty of being able to work down in South Carolina with them is that my sister restaurant was also purchasing corn for their grits, which is husk, right? So we were able, that was the cheaper corn to purchase, but it was local, and we were helping the local community with that. And then the other one, since we were mixing 50-50, we were able to find the cost there, right? But we didn't want to compromise the tacos in themselves, because even though, yes, it is a very simple style of finger food, we still wanted to make our difference, because nobody in Charleston was nixtamalizing, and nobody was making actual flour or corn tortillas, and we were making both in-house, and that was our point of difference, to be able to show, hey, we can do this, and we're here to play, and we did. It was fun.
Other questions? I'm reminded, when you speak of corn, of I was visiting with Sean Brock, like, I don't know, 15 years ago. He was in New York. We were hanging out. And before he got into all of the local seasonal heritage stuff, he was a big molecular gastronomy guy when he was cooking in Louisville. And so he had all of this heritage corn, but he didn't have a mill to grind it with, but he had liquid nitrogen. So he froze the corn with liquid nitrogen and then kind of put it in a food processor and was able to grind it up that way. And that's just what Sean Brock does. So are you going to be at the CIA for a while, do you think?
Yes, till further notice. I don't have any plans, right? This is wood, right? No, yes, I do plan the beauty of working at the school is being able to find that work-life balance, and I applaud the chef that was here for saying that his executive chefs work the 40 hours, 4 days, because it's important that to be able to get that creativity, like you said, and that inspiration, that you're rested as well, right? Because if not, it just becomes a very monotone cycle every single day, head down. And yes, we all do that as chefs, and it is fun, and we love it. But sometimes, you just let's step back. But it's been fantastic, because it feels like I'm going back to school, because I constantly have to teach myself and stay out of that comfort zone to be able to continue to teach it forward to the students. So it's been a blessing, for sure.
Wonderful. And yeah, a 3-day weekend is 100 times better than a 2-day weekend,
Absolutely.
certainly. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to let you go 5 minutes early. Thanks a lot, Chef Velázquez.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.
And now you walk around. We have a break and some tastings, I believe, but I'm not sure about that.
Hi, I'm Chef Phil from Pied à Terre Restaurant in Fitzrovia, London. Today we're preparing a white asparagus bavaroise with pickled green strawberries, Piedemonte hazelnuts, and lovely nasturtium leaf. The idea is using all of our trimmings and being resourceful and making sure we're zero waste as a restaurant and celebrating all this fabulous produce we're lucky enough to have. In the restaurant, we were using just the tips of the asparagus, and the rest of the beautiful asparagus was just surplus going to star food, and I really want to celebrate this incredible ingredient. So it's a completely vegan dish, but we make basically like a kind of panna cotta with the white asparagus at a base, using vegan cream, some oat milk, and then with the dish we have pickled green strawberries, which make a nice glaze over it. So we've cut the bavaroise. What I'm going to do now is we just shave some beautiful Piedemonte hazelnuts over the top of it to give a nice nuttiness, and nice like toasted hazelnuts kind of give a brown butter feel to like vegan food kind of things, which beurre noisette's one of my favorite flavors. So, you know, even without the butter, you can still have that. So this is the disc, the asparagus bavaroise with a green strawberry glaze. So now I'm just going to add a Maya lemon gel, just to give a little bit of acidity. And that's going to help us build everything up in a beautiful way. Half toasted hazelnuts go on top of our little gel. Our lovely roasted white asparagus that's just been gently blanched to get a bit of softness, and then roasted on the barbecue for a lovely caramelized flavor. We're going to build that up to kind of give the height as well. Beautiful pickled green strawberries, which used to be discarded, and because they're not sweet and they're more of a savory product. And we found pickling them to give an amazing acidity, which I believe acidity to be a seasoning of food, just like salt and pepper. And it's got a really firm texture, and it's just also something a bit different and a bit interesting. Finally, we finished that with some beautiful nasturtiums that are grown less than 100 yards from the building. We have an amazing man, and we're working with him to grow different things. We grow sorrels, we grow all of our herbs, because I just kind of got used to it before. And in the end, we end up with a beautiful asparagus bavaroise.
Castilla y León is an incredible land. The truth is that we would have loved to stay longer. But as the song says, the show must go on. So, off to our next destination, Castilla-La Mancha, land of legends, knights, windmills, Don Quixote de la Mancha, and the award-winning filmmaker, Pedro Almodóvar. And of course, the land that gives its name to one of the most iconic sheep milk cheeses in Europe, the PDO Manchego cheese. Want to know how it's produced? Us too. And thanks to Samuel's kindness, we were able to discover it. Samuel gave us a personal visit to one of the most modern and innovative factories in Southern Europe. We toured the different warehouses with him, and we were able to see all the phases of the making of Manchego cheese. We learned that for a cheese to be called Manchego, it must be made with milk from Manchego sheep. In addition, all of them include an embedded casein plate on the back that guarantees traceability.
So pay attention to this label. It always has to say Manchego cheese.
And also to this one. That's the European logo that recognizes quality products. We also learned that the minimum maturation time for Manchego cheese is 30 days. And we were even able to see the structure that give it that characteristic relief and texture. Do you know what that's called? Pincho.
Besides the Manchego cheese, in Europe they have other delicious sheep milk cheeses, like the Castellanos,
The Idiazabal.
or the Zamorano.
So as they say here, you will never go to bed without learning one more thing. But before going to sleep and ending our third day of our road trip, we were able to taste the incredible Manchego cheeses in an amazing setting. Ready to play? Discover the European cheese stories at cheesestories.eu. Funded by the European Union.